Hello, my name is Jennifer Frazee and I'm one of the historical interpreters here at Hunter's Home. Today we're going to talk about some of the hunting equipment and what hunting was here at the site. So the first thing that we'll talk about is what is hunting to Hunter's Home. Well, as you probably noticed, that's the reason why the plantation has the name Hunter's Home. George was an avid fox hunter, and because of that, we believe that's why he named this place Hunter's Home. You can see it in just about everywhere that you walk out here. It's in a lot of the memories, diaries, things like that we have from people who lived at this time, and letters that they were writing and things like that. We know that was a very big part of life in Park Hill in the 19th century. So what we'll do first is we will talk about, so George went fox hunting quite a bit. Emily Merle talks about it in her diary, and of course, family members talk about it in their letters and things, as we'll find out here in just a moment. But first, we're going to look at this picture here. Now, this is a blown-up photograph of a daguerreotype we have of Minerva Merle. It's the only daguerreotype we believe that was taken of her. We also have a portrait painted of her downstairs in the parlor. But this right here is a daguerreotype, and you can see that they painted in gold for her necklace and her earrings and things. But what she's wearing right here looks to be a fox fur stole. And so that kind of shows you, and you can see it looks similar to these guys back here behind me. You can see kind of, if you hold it up, the similarities in the outline and the shapes of it. And so she was wearing that in her daguerreotype that she took here. And so we know that most likely that came from one of George's hunting expeditions that she went on, or that he went on and brought back for her. So that's one of the indicators of it. And then we also have here, bringing back Emily's diary. If you've watched our video on Minerva's medicine talk and the talk of 19th century medicines, you'll remember this diary here that we have. And so I'm going to open it up. And this is a little treat for later. I'm going to open it up here. And so she has a couple of excerpts from her diary. So here on the 15th of April, it looks like, 18th of April, she puts in her diary, Thursday, 18th of April, rain. It is quite gloomy indeed. Uncle George started a fox, but soon lost track on account of the rain. William Ross Jr. killed a rabbit and squirrel. So it seems like they started on fox hunt, and if it doesn't work out, they're going to catch something else. And the next one, on the 23rd, they went fox hunting, caught none. So they've been fishing all morning and then that evening afterwards. So they went fox hunting quite a bit. This was in April of the year of 1850. This is in April of 1850, so that's whenever they were going fox hunting at that time out here. And then we also have information from Joshua Ross, and that's him right here. So this is Joshua Ross. He was a cousin of Minerva and Amanda Merle, and he and his sister Jenny Pocahontas, whenever their dad died, they came out here to live, and Minerva and George helped raise them, and they also paid for them to go to school and all that. And then whenever Joshua graduated, George paid for him to continue his education, and then they helped set him up as a merchant in Muskogee. So he had a mercantile establishment there. Now, he wrote in one of his letters to his sister Jenny in 1870, he wrote, "The country around Tahlequah and Park Hill looks natural. At night I heard the sound of hound and horn, which reminded me of pleasures past at the Hunter's Home." So you can see that was a really big thing for them at the time. And then we also have lots of other people who mention a lot of information about the site. Shorey Ross, for example, was a cousin of the two Merle wives. And at the end of, after the Civil War, at some point in time, James Latta, who was the overseer out here for George's enslaved population, he came back here to stay with his wife Harriet, and they lived here in the house for a short amount of time while she took care of an elderly person who lived here in the neighborhood somewhere. Now, while they lived here, Harriet taught children out of the dining room downstairs, and so Shorey Ross remembers a lot of portraits around the dining room wall that were fox hunting scenes, and we think those are scenes from the corn hunt, and that's what our next video will be about. We'll just do a little mini walking tour of that site while to guys kind of let you guys see what that was about. So we also have some artifacts here. These are artifacts that would be used in the ones I'm showing you first in shooting, not necessarily hunting, but here out of view a little bit. I have a couple of other things here that we're going to look at as well. I'm not going to touch them. I'm going to pull the camera off the tripod and show you guys that there. All right, so what we have here is we have a little punch. And so what this is, so at this time they were shooting not fully made bullets, they still had to pack them. And so whenever you're packing your bullets, you wanted to have something on the back side of it there, and sometimes that was made out of tough fabric or leather. And so what you would do is you would put this down on your material, and then you could hammer on it, and it would punch that perfect shape out, and you could layer that in with your load there. And then we also have here a bullet mold, and you can see in here is where the lead would have been poured, and then whenever you open it up, you can see the inside of the mold, and so it would come out like that, and then that would leave that little weird distinct impression in the side of it. It comes from that. So, and then, okay, so now I'm going to show you guys the rest of the stuff. So what we have here are a few items that were used in hunting in this general area. We are relatively certain that these were used here at the site in some of the hunting parties that George Merle took his friends and relatives on. So this is a hunting horn that was made by returned Robert Miggs, who was grandson of Chief John Ross. And so this is what, this one here, not this. So this is what was used to call the hounds and to signal to them, and also to communicate with the other members of the hunt. And then this next to it is a powder horn. So as I was saying earlier with the punch, you wouldn't have like a shotgun shell or something that you use to shoot with. You'd have to kind of manufacture your own on the fly. And so what they would do is they would fill pouches or horns like this, and then you would be able to empty your powder from here down into the barrel of your gun. And then we have this here, which is a hunting pouch, and this is what you carried all your hunting paraphernalia in. And so this was also Robert Miggs, as you can see on this horn here, and this was likely what they used to pour the shot in. But you can see this is Bob there. And so this is leather, likely deer hide, and twine. And you can see that rope there. And look at that carving and the design on it. This is amazing. And that rope. I mean, it's all amazing. And so this is some of the paraphernalia that was used in hunting, likely here at Hunter's home. And then we also have, so that is the hunting pouch. And then if you look over here, that is what it would have looked like new. And now for the little treat, I guess it could be called, at the end of this. So Ghost Stories is canceled for this year. We want to make sure that we keep everybody safe. But we are previewing a video, or we were previewing a private Facebook page, and I'll talk about that in a later video here. But before I go and leave this video, I wanted to give you guys a little ghost story pertaining to hunting in the area. So this is Shory Ross, and he is a cousin of the two Merle wives, and he's the one who went to school here in the dining room. the one that remembered seeing all the pictures of fox hunting around the room. And he also told a story that we found in the Indian Pioneer papers. This was from an interview done by him in 1937. According to persons who some years ago personally recalled events of the past, there were several fox hunters from Tahlequah and Park Hill who participated in this sport before the Civil War. And this is true. Also, fox hunting was pretty popular in the area, and in fact, we've recently discovered that the very first military hunt club out here was at Fort Gibson, so they established one out there. Continuing on with the story, some of those same men following the close of that conflict have been referred to as taking part in the chase. One of the largest packs of hounds was owned by Major George Merle of Park Hill. There were several other fox hunters in the locality and all rode together on occasion. The country for miles around was unobstructed by fences, and foxes were more plentiful back then. Consequently, some great races were had, in the course of which large sections of the country were ridden over between the beginning of nightfall and daybreak. So these are some all-night-long fox hunts. On this occasion, the hounds pursued the foxes far down the hills along the Illinois River, getting completely out of hearing of the hunters. The hounds, as the story goes, gave chase during a number of hours, but never could overhaul that fox, as the object of pursuit was thought to be. Midnight came, and the hounds could be heard in the distance at full cry. The hunters followed far behind. Then the hounds circled around in a wider detour. Time continued to pass until the gray light of early dawn appeared. At that time, the hounds passed at no great distance from the hunters. From their excited baying, the fast-gaining animals were apparently quite near the object of their pursuit. The hunters urged their horses to full speed and soon were directly behind the hounds. Major Merle and Mr. Latta were close together, and upon coming near the hound, saw running at great speed immediately in front of the foremost hounds a dwarf-like being with long black hair streaming in the early breeze. He ran on a short distance, then suddenly vanished, leaving neither trace nor track. Immediately, the hounds laid down, panting and weary. The men with Major Merle expressed great astonishment. One of the men declared that never again would he visit this section on a fox hunting expedition, but Major Merle was unimpressed. "There are some things we do not understand," he is reputed to have said. At that, he blew his horn and rode away for home, followed by his companions and the hounds. So in our next video, we're going to have a little short walking tour of the corn hunt pictures that we believe was what Shorty Ross was talking about whenever he was going to school down here. And hopefully that piqued your interest for some future spooky tales from Hunter's Home.